Guys, a quick update. I want to talk about two things in this video. First, let's get this out of the way and understood because there's people in danger right now. In central Texas, you've got severe thunderstorm watches and warnings. The watches in the Dallas-Fort Worth area are in this pink, and then the orange sections are severe thunderstorm warnings. In the yellow here, coming out of Texas into Louisiana, this is going to move into Mississippi tonight. That is tornado watches. There was a tornado that was indicated by radar. I don't know if it touched the ground or not. Maybe some of you guys down in central Texas can tell me about that, but a warning popped up. There was no way I could do a video where I was at that time, but it's not there now, but it was right in this area where the severe thunderstorm warnings are. Notice also right here in the very edge of it's almost into eastern Louisiana. You got severe thunderstorm watches and warnings ahead of the tornado watch. But again, this is supposed to move east tonight. So if you're in this area, you got friends and family that are in that area, make sure that you're ready, your pets are ready, and if you're not in there, make sure your friends and family are paying attention to this. Now, guys, go to weather.gov to get to this map and then click on your area. It doesn't matter if you're in central Texas or anywhere on the map. I'm going to click here on the Jackson, Mississippi radar because that's where we are at, and all of this is moving our way. But you can come over and catch the Shreveport, come down and get New Orleans, or get over into Dallas and all of that. But here in Mississippi, just because this is where we are at, and it's the same all over, just click there. And what it's going to show you, now this is all going to be different depending on where you click on the map. But in our case, coming out of Windsor and Bastrop, Louisiana, into Vicksburg now, you're dealing with a slight chance, but that slight risk is of severe storms, damaging wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour, hail that is quarter to golf ball size, and tornadoes are possible. Now, that's going to be moving to the east. Notice here, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., that's what we're going to be dealing with over in this area. After 8 to 11 p.m., guys, and after midnight, all of this is going to be right on top of us here in central Mississippi. I can show you because no matter where you click, you can more than likely, each one of these, now let me back up, will be slightly different. Each state, each different weather station has a slightly different version of this and different radars. But if you here in Mississippi, you can scroll down here and gives you your warnings. But right there on the left, click there. Now, I know that certain areas were in that marginal risk zone that we just looked at, guys. But look right here. This is the Mississippi River. Here's Vicksburg right there, Jackson, Mississippi. That's where the radar is coming out of. Here are severe thunderstorm watches and flood warnings here. So all of this is moving right. It's right on the river now. And guys, in the Delta, you see here's Greenville there, Winona moving up in here. You're going to be under the gun for this weather because it's moving more northeast or north by northeast than it is straight northeast like this. Notice it's got kind of headed up this way. Memphis, you're going to be in the line of this. But this tail end right here is what's going to swipe in through the Natchez area. And this is going to build through midnight. Now, most of you know this, but a lot of these will have a pan feature right there. Click that, and then we can drop right over into Louisiana. You can see it's clearing behind here now. Tyler, Texas is starting to clear. But coming down from Lufkin, Texas, up through this area, this is Alexandria, Louisiana, Shreveport's here. This is all going to cross 20 around the Monroe area now, maybe a little further south. But you've got flash flood warnings. You've got severe thunderstorm warnings. Right now, there are not tornado warnings out. But these thunderstorm watches and warnings, guys, can, again, 60-mile-per-hour winds with hail. Be very aware of that. Take care of your pets. Check on everyone that's around you. Again, with the panning feature, we can go a little further west. It's starting to clear up. But look, if we go down past Waco, that's why a lot of the folks here in the southeast are going to be looking at this weather for just about the whole week. We've got more storms coming in. So if we go down a little further, This is Brownwood, San Angelo, Sonora. Go back up here. All of this is starting to build into thunderstorm watches. This is a very active cell for you guys, and this would be moving up into the Waco area very quickly. And again, here's Fort Worth, here's Dallas, Wichita Falls. You can see where you're at here. A lot of those fires we had, we could have used this rain about a month or so ago, couldn't we, guys? Anyway, we got bad weather coming, but here's the other thing that I want to talk about that I think is very important. Now, going to our YouTube channel, which you're watching now, yesterday there were two videos that went up. First was the coverage from NASA of the eclipse, beautiful images across the nation. And the second one was here we were showing the shadow, guys, and then the different effects from that. And in this one, which now has 50,000 views, and I think that's why I think it's important we pay attention to the comments in that video because there's so many. But if we go back over here 5 days, it says world warning, we have entered a very dangerous time. And what I was trying to do without getting in a lot of trouble was let folks know that there may be problems along the path of totality. And it looks like it was actually much wider than that. It seemed like whoever had decided to do the spraying along the path realized that that area was full. A lot of people didn't have the gas or money or time or didn't really want to get much further out of that path. But so they sprayed many cities, even down into Florida, guys, that were nowhere near the path of totality. And in the comments, guys, coming back to here, which in there, I haven't even read all of them, I think 100 or 2 or more, and tried to reply to a few. But my concern was the warning going back again to this video was that something could be in these chemtrails. And what I wanted to do was come in here and talk to you guys and get your comments because it's important. If you read through here, and that would take you a very long time, I promise you, but if you do, you'll find that people are starting to get symptoms already. Some are kind of frightening. A fellow and his mother were working outside, and he noticed her and outside and went over there, and one of her eyes looked bloodshot and all, and starting to get sick, got a fever. He called it hemorrhagic fever. I don't know. Other people getting headaches, sore throats, things like that. And in the video back here that I was trying to warn about, they said it could be 7 to 10 days, and that you may start seeing emergency room visits. Things like that start to pile up, complaints of like a cold or flu or whatever it is, headaches, nausea, but definitely some rough symptoms. And again, it was not just in this path that we're looking at right there in the left. I'm just staying here for a minute. But come here and let us and comment. The reason that is important is because it's not going to be on mainstream media. If you've noticed, every media outlet in the nation and the world covered the eclipse. No one talked about the chemtrailing that we showed in this particular video here. Let me bring up an image, a still image. And this is from yesterday. It's in the video. And again, just a still shot. But I was watching not only the shadow as NASA was showing the eclipse in those images, but I was watching this too. And you can see the X's here. See that? And then in the comments, guys, dozens of people said from out of nowhere, and look at the X's up through here, they've never seen it before. These planes crossing paths. And again, not just along this path, but down into Florida and other places. Just about every comment was from different places and the same thing. Suddenly 2 to 3 times the amount of chemtrailing. And some people said, and this was in the video on the warning, there would be 3 things that happened during this eclipse of this event. And people are saying they saw the planes 3 times, doubled and tripled up. And you think about, man, how do you have that many planes in this many places? Not to mention the carbon footprint that these freaks always complain about. You understand what I'm saying? But here's what we need to do. Do it on your channels. Do it on your Facebook. Ask friends and family, are you having effects from this? Now, it was a blessing to us here because we were going to stay inside anyway with our pets, but we had overcloudiness, we had sprinkles, and then last night we had pretty good rain. We're going to have that for the next few days, as you can see by the beginning of this video. And with that, and that would wash a lot out of the atmosphere. Now, all of that would show up eventually in the water. But right now, we're definitely getting complaints of people that were there under the impact of it falling. Some people said it almost sounded like rain hitting, but it was no visible rain. And let me say something very interesting. About a year before the COVID hit, there was a lunar eclipse, and it was supposed to peak here around 2 a.m., and I was going to get out and take some pictures of it. And I stayed out there maybe an hour. It was cold, it was cool, and probably freezing, maybe a little lower. But I wanted to get some good images, and I was dressed good. But no longer had I come into the house than my throat was extremely sore, and I ended up in the hospital. And it was very tough, and this was right like the year before COVID hit. Anyway, at that point in time, I wondered what had happened. It came on very quickly. It came on suddenly. Now, it didn't have the media hype that eclipse did, but again, around the year before COVID, look it up, the lunar eclipse. And had they been sprayed? What had happened? Because, again, the emergency room here filled. And it stayed like that as COVID came into play. It wasn't long before it, but it was in that year before it became a big deal. But I had to go to the emergency room. And there were people that didn't make it out of there. And even in our small hospital here, there were people that were being life-flighted out to larger hospitals up in the capital of Jackson or to Hattiesburg, Memphis, somewhere like that. But I wondered to this day. No one ever talked about it, and it was nighttime. You wouldn't have really seen a lot like people in the daytime were seeing. But the way it hit me so fast, guys, I was wondering about that. Look up that date of that lunar eclipse. It would have been, again, before COVID, but not long. And just think about everyone. I mean, it was probably not as many people that saw the eclipse yesterday, but there was a lot of people watching that lunar eclipse, and because it's just another celestial event that our Father in heaven creates. Now, another thing I want to talk about, and this is just responding to some questions in the comments. People were saying, what about the comet, BP? They were supposed to be visible during that, and that we're talking about Comet Pons-Brooks, which is suddenly brightened. And the only time I've ever seen that goes back 14 years to 2007, guys, with Comet Holmes. Only comet I've ever seen in anything that looks anything like this. And Comet Holmes, the glow around the coma of it was actually larger than the sun. Let's take a look at that, and just want to point out a couple of things. Now, let's go back 14 years, not quite 14. This October it will be 14 years, but Comet Holmes on the left suddenly brightened as it got closer to the sun, and it was like a giant egg. And then when it finally exploded, guys, the inside scattered out through the solar system. It was like something that was put in here to feed, as like a fertilizer of the entire solar system. That's all you could only way you could describe it. Go back and look at Comet Holmes 2007. And it brightened, and it was as large as the sun. As a matter of fact, a little larger, and they're saying it became, at that point, the largest object in our solar system. The Comet Holmes left from the 3.6 meter Canadian France-Hawaii telescope on Mauna Kea, showing the coma of 869,000 miles, or 1.4 million kilometers in diameter. The white star near the center of the comet is in fact the dust-shrouded nucleus of the comet right here. The sun and the planet Saturn are shown at the same scale for comparison. The sun's here, and here's Saturn. And again, it was the brightest, largest object visible in the solar system at that time. Now, it was amazing. I've watched massive comets. I watched ISUN come through a large, giant comet and nearly hit the sun and explode into a 40 million mile wide fan. But the only thing I've ever seen like Comet Holmes is happening right now, and that's with Pons-Brooks. Let's look at it. Another quick look back in 2007, almost 14 years ago, of Comet Holmes. Check that out. Again, you can see at this time, I think it was getting ready to do its kind of explosion and release of all of the ingredients or elements that were in this section of the comet. Again, it looked like a transparent egg, and that's what it reminded me of, something feeding the inner solar system. Now let's look at what's happening right now. Now this is a couple of days old, but it's only getting brighter, but this is the clearest picture that I've seen, and this is from someone that has done this year after year on different comets. We're looking at spaceweather.com, which is a link on bpearthwatch.com. This is Michael Yeager, and he is from Martinsburg, Austria, April 6, 2024. Notice again, it looks just like Holmes. And if you guys aren't familiar with it, go type that in, look at Holmes, and notice it's done the same thing, same coloration. And going back to, this is Pons-Brooks, by the way. This is 2 days old, but we were looking at the other day the multiple trailings, and I said that looked like it was spinning, and that's the same thing that Comet Holmes was doing, and it had the same type debris trail as this. But look at that. And in the newer videos, you can see where it looks like the tail has been cut off and then starting to reform. And I've seen that happen with some of the bigger comets like ISUN. When a solar flare goes out into the solar system, it doesn't have to hit Earth, but if it crosses the path of one of these comets, that solar wind stream pushes through like a gust of wind over fire, and it clears for a minute, then reforms, and we're starting to see videos of that. Now, a black and white image, but it's beautiful. This is from April 4th. This is from Glendale, California. Eduardo, hope I don't butcher this, Pons-Dominic. Again, April 4th, Glendale, California. Look at this. Spectacular. These multiple tails are telling me that this thing is rotating. And that's why you're getting that spin. And this more than likely is your ion tail at the top, the direct path of the solar stream. Look at this, guys. This is what's out there now. And everybody was saying, well, no one could see it during the eclipse. Wrong. There were these people that are this good watching it. Now, you would need a telescope to see it almost any time. It's some type of telescope. But guys, what we're dealing with here is from Lynn Zuan. I hope that's right. Yesterday. This is from Connecticut Lake, New Hampshire, April 8th. And what you're seeing here is, here's the comet. Here is the eclipse. Very bright corona around it. Again, this was during totality, and this is part of the Cruitz group comet, same, I think, as Comet Holmes was. But notice here it's highlighted. Now let's look at it without the highlight with a different filter. And this is almost a reverse image. You've seen it on some of the solar satellites as we're watching SOHO. But right here, there it is. That's the comet that was supposed to be visible, and it was. But the corona was so bright, guys, and you were dimmed down with your solar glasses and welding helmets, whatever it was, that it would be hard to see that compared to what's around it. But that's what, and it was visible at that time. Now, I want to end it with kind of a third thought about the entire subject. We've seen, and if you study the history of comets going back to ancient times, people a lot of times didn't know they were coming, and they didn't know an eclipse was coming. Certain people did, ancient astronomers and things like that, but a lot of people just, they knew about it, but they didn't tell everybody so they could kind of pretend to be like gods. You understand what I'm saying? But a lot of things happened. They would see a comet, then there would be a major disease spread. They didn't know what was going on. They didn't know it was coming. But many times, look at the comets and the plagues and things like that, and the eclipses. Again, they didn't know they were coming. Some people did that knew astronomy. Again, they used that to their advantage. But things happened at these points. But the dimming down of the live video that you saw on our channel yesterday was the most amazing thing that I've ever seen. And for you guys that believe it's a flat earth and we're under a dome, I kind of feel sorry for you because you're missing the most spectacular creations of our Father in heaven. You'll see them one day. You may not be in this body. You may be in your spiritual body with your spiritual eyes open and get to see the creation much as Enoch did. But I just hate that you think it's a simulation, because man cannot do what you saw yesterday. It was magnificent. It was eye-opening. It was a revelation event. Nobody's ever seen that in the U.S. And that's in the comments too. I mentioned that in the video. Never seen it that dark. A lot of people said the same thing. It was an apocalyptic scene over those cameras that NASA had in that video, 2.5 hour long video of when it would get dark in those stadiums or those racetracks or those event sites. And the street lights would come on, bats would start flying, night insects would start flying, and the temperature started dropping. That's expected. But just, you'd think back about it when you'd see these events. Here's your comet, here's your eclipse. It was always followed by disasters. And what I'm asking for now is your comments to come in. If you're not sick and you know someone is, you don't have to mention names, addresses, or locations, anything like that. Just say what's happening. That gives us a database that we can share on the following videos of what's going around. Maybe people can prepare a little better. We're watching it, guys. You watch it. It's a heads up. Be safe.